Hi, welcome to University of Chester Virtual Open Day organized by Bwbs Education Consultant. Am I audible? Yes, I'm audible. Yeah, we are live from London and we are so excited to welcome you today for UK University admission process and course offerings by the University of Chester. My name is Walid Hussain. I am one of the founder and director of BWS Education Consultant. I'm introducing Ms. Tasmina Chowdhury, Country Liaison Officer, Bangladesh University of Chester. Hi, Tasmina. Do you want to say something to us, to our audience?
Hi, Wale. Thank you for having us today. Thank you for having us, and welcome to all the students, everybody who's going to be viewing us today in this session. And I believe this video is going to be on your page as well, so you could always look and have an information from there. So yes, like Walid said, I am the country liaison officer for Bangladesh at the University of Chester. So essentially, I will deal with all queries from Bangladeshi students, starting from your admissions to joining the university. So do please feel free to get in touch with BWB Solutions, who are one of our consultant partners, or myself for any queries.
Thank you, Dasmina. Let me tell a little bit about us and what we are going to cover today. I would like to give you a brief idea. We will explore bachelor, master's pathway and study opportunities in the UK at University of Chester, including the International Foundation offering by the University of Chester. We will also look at the important deadlines of September 2021 intake, application processing time, English language requirements, academic entry requirements, university's own English test, which is Chester is offering its own English test, which is very good. Chester University also provide a good amount of scholarships, and also they have accommodation. And we also will cover COVID-19 updates, and there will be a question and answer from the prospective students, and yeah, that will be like roughly 20-25 minutes. Let me tell a little bit about BWBS Education Consultant. We are a British Council trained certified agent, and we are UCAS registered center. Our all admission process is 100% free. We provide full application support, and we also are representing 60 plus UK universities. Our head office is based in London. We have 98% visa success rate and 99% student satisfaction rate. We offer granted scholarships. Also, we process fast track applications, and we also manage quick offer letters. And we also give a guidance for personal statement, credibility and visa interview guidance, visa UK visa application assistance, accommodation arrangement and airport pickup, and also we provide students a career guidance. So that's it is. Tasmina, you can little bit introduce about University of Chester.
Yes. So thank you. Well, that was really informative. So basically, the university, just a bit of brief on the university, and then we will take questions and speak in details, like you said, about the different courses and tuition fees. So the University of Chester is a public university. It is located in the northwest of England. It's one of the oldest higher education institute in the UK. So we have a vast, huge knowledge in terms of education, faculty support, and of course, working with international students. Currently, we have over 15,000 students from across 130 countries. So you can understand how truly multicultural the university is. We are very aptly located near Manchester and Liverpool. So for all the football lovers, they will know where Manchester and Liverpool is situated. So we are about 45 to 50 minutes from there, and 2 hours by London. So I think the most frequent question Bangladeshi students would ask is how close we are to London. So we are 2 hours by train from London. So mostly students would arrive at Manchester Airport, and then we arrange pickup services for our students should they inform us in time. In terms of the course that we offer, we start from foundation program going up towards masters and PhDs. At the moment, we are teaching about 300 plus courses across our 8 faculties. So it ranges from business to medicine, English, social care, health sciences, depending, of course, what level you are trying to come on to and what your previous degree is, of course. At the moment, we start off with the foundation program, and then we go, like I said, up to masters and then PhD as well. I can see a few questions coming in. Walid, should we take the questions, or do you want me to speak a bit about the courses that we offer?
Yeah, if you can just explain a little bit about the university entry requirements and
Yeah. Okay, then we'll take the questions. All right, great. So, like I said, starting off from the foundation program, we have a direct entry in our undergrad level. So, if a student is coming from HSC, they would require to have 4.5 on 5 to come on directly onto our undergrad program. If you're coming from A levels, you're required to have 2B and 1C, or 1B or 2C. So, you need to have 3 full A levels. Apart from that, of course, we do accept IB and other academic entry criteria as well. So, please do check up either on our website or with Bwb, who are our partners who's hosting the event today. So that's the academic entry criteria for undergrad level. For undergrad, the English language entry criteria is overall 6 in IELTS, no less than 5.5 in each band. And I think, as Walid mentioned in the beginning, we also offer an internal English language test. So if a student does not have English language or any other English language that we accept, so if you were to go onto our webpage, you will see that we not only accept IELTS, there are about 7 or 8 English language tests that we do accept. So if you have either of those and you meet the entry criteria and the test is valid till course start date, we will accept that. If you don't have that, you can then give the internal test. If a student fails to get direct entry into undergrad because they don't meet the academic entry criteria, in that scenario, you can then apply for a foundation program. So we have a 1-year standalone foundation. We also have a 1+3 program, which is a foundation year leading on to the bachelor's program. For that, the academic entry criteria is overall 55% in your 12th grade. And depending on what pathway you're coming on to, you need to have also like 55% in maths. So if you have both of that, you can then apply for a foundation program. The only difference here is that for foundation program, we do not have the internal test. That's because that's a level where UKVI IELTS is mandatory. So at any level or for any program where an UKVI exam is mandatory, we cannot, sort of provide the internal test. It has to be that exam. So that's foundation program and undergrad. Then moving on to masters, we require students to have overall 3.15, B plus, or 60%. So depending on how your university grades you, we will look at that transcript. And it has to be a 4 years bachelor. That is a mandatory if you're coming directly onto our master's program. Similarly, English language entry criteria for IELTS, it's overall 6.5, no less than 5.5 in each band. And as like undergrad as well, we accept varied range of English language tests here. So please do feel free to go onto our website and have a look there. At this level as well, we do have the internal test. So if you have not given any of the English language, you could still apply, put in your application, and in the offer letter when we give you, we will add this as a condition that either you can take any of the English language tests that we accept, or you can take the internal test as well. So yeah, these are all the 4 levels. At the moment, the tuition fees for the upcoming session, which is the 21-22, so that will start from September, October, which is our biggest intake, because in September, October, we have both undergrad and postgrad, and we offer all subjects across all the departments. We have another session in January and February where we have like a handful of PGT, which is master's subjects. So these would mostly be medicine, business, and a handful of, I believe, computer subjects. And after that, we have another session in May 2022, but that's going to be simply business at the moment. So if you are looking for undergrad or foundation, the only session we have for that is the September one. And since we are already in the first week of July, and we will be closing deadline shortly, if you are an undergrad perspective, so please do get in touch and put in your application as soon as possible. In terms of tuition fees, Walid, foundation program, the tuition fee is 9,250, and that is extremely affordable and quite close to the domestic tuition fee. So at that level, we don't have any scholarship at the moment. For undergrad, the tuition fee is 12,750, and we do have up to £2,000 scholarship at that level. So £1,000, you will get on application. So essentially, your tuition fee is actually 11,750, and another 1,000 based on merit. So how like I said, said, 4.5 is the entry criteria. If a student has 5 on 5, then they can also additionally get the merit scholarship. Don't have to do anything separately for that. As soon as you put in the application, we will give that to you. At the master's level, tuition fee is 12,950 for most of our subjects. MBA is a bit more, it's 13,250. But at this level, you have an opportunity to get up to £3,000 scholarship. So £2,000 is guaranteed on application. So essentially, your tuition fee is actually 11,950. Additionally, if you get the 1,000 merit scholarship, then your tuition fee comes down a little shy of £10,000. So to have a master's degree from the UK at well under £10,000 is extremely reasonable and, of course, very affordable. So yes, that's how the tuition fees and scholarships look like at the moment, Walid.
Fantastic. And do you have any work placement course?
Yes, in our undergrad, we have a work placement as well, work-based learning program. So that's year 1 of study, year 2 of work placement, year 3 and year 4 study, and that's in undergrad and mostly in business programs. In masters, at the moment, we do not have work placement in majority of our courses. However, if it's a course where it's embedded into the program, those will be 2 years programs. Those are separate. But apart from that, we don't have, sort of work placement in the master's level. However, the good news, of course, for students now is that PSW has been introduced, the post-study work visa, where essentially if you are staying in the UK completing either your undergrad or your postgrad, you will then be able to apply for another 2 years extension, given, of course, you've met all the visa requirements. So that can be used as an opportunity for students to seek for job full time.
Fantastic. And do you accept any other English language for foundation program apart of IELTS?
At the moment, in terms of English language, like I said, if it's sort of UKVI mandatory, then that is what we will be accepting in terms of entry requirement. But we do accept other English language tests, for example, PTE, Trinity College London, language cert. So it's always better to quickly have a look at our page. But if it says UKVI IELTS, then that's probably the only level that we are going to accept for that level, the only test. Apart from that, if it's a different level of study, we do accept a varied range of tests.
So the entry requirement for the IFP, if any student have UKVI IELTS, and it's a valid IELTS,
yes.
The full minimum is 4.5.
Minimum is overall 5, no less than 5.5 in each band.
Okay.
That's minimum just for foundation.
For foundation, minimum 5 and not less than 5.5 overall.
No less than 4.5 in each band. Overall, okay. 5.
Fantastic, which is quite reasonable, honestly. And
yes, yeah, correct.
And Chester University tuition fees also very reasonable compared to other universities. Their fees is about 11,000-12,000.
Yeah, at the foundation level, Walid, it's 9,250. So that's almost similar to domestic tuition fees. And to do that at the level, foundation level that will give you entry into undergrad program, I would say that's quite reasonable in that scenario.
Yeah, and the course duration will be 12 months or 9 months?
Yes, basically it's 1 year. So essentially we say 1 year, but it's actually 9 months taught. So you have breaks in between. So it sort of moves on to a 12-month course.
Okay, so the course will start from September and most probably it will finish in July. And then once the student will get progression, then they will go to Bachelor.
Definitely. Just to clarify one thing here, like I said, we have 2 levels of foundation. One is the standalone, for which you will get a CAS, and then you finish that program, and that will not allow you to automatically progress to the bachelor's degree. You will need to apply for another CAS. However, we also have, like I said, International Foundation Year Plus Bachelor, which is the 1+3 program integrated, where you can proceed with only 1 CAS. The only difference is, like I said, for the foundation program, you need UKVI IELTS of sort of like a less grade. But if you're coming onto the foundation year, then you need overall 6. So the only difference is in terms of English language, but the academic entry criteria is same.
Fantastic. Also, do you provide any sort of pre-sessional English course as well? Say,
yes,
one student got 6.5 overall. but mistakenly one band below 5.5. So do you have any sort of opportunity for any students with pre-sessional English and the main course?
Yes, we do have pre-sessional English. So the pre-sessional English is provided based on, so you can directly apply with the current IELTS that you have, or any other English language test equivalent that we accept. Or say, for example, you've sat our internal test, but you've not passed directly. We also then offer you the pre-sessional at the moment. Just like to add, because we are very close to the session, the only pre-sessional that we have left at the moment is the 5 weeks, which will be starting next month. So we have different varied levels of pre-sessional. We started off with 13 weeks that started on the 1st of June. We then had the 9 weeks we started on the 28th of June is ending, I think sometime first week of September. So the only one that we have left at the moment is a 5 weeks pre-sessional. So for example, if you have for PG, for example, you have overall 6, no less than 5.5, then you can come on to the 5 weeks pre-sessional. For UG, if you have overall 5.5, no less than 5, then you can come on to the pre-sessional as well.
Wow, very good. Is it online, or student can get
At the moment, it's online. Usually, this is a face-to-face program, but keeping the current scenario in mind because of the visa problems that students are having, we have run this program online for the last academic session. It's the same for this academic session as well, at least for the autumn session. If things improve, maybe for spring and going onwards, it might be face-to-face. But at the moment, it is online. And of course, you have to pay a certain amount for that, but it's a bit subsidized because it's not face-to-face.
Oh, very good. Also, about the joint cast. If any student will come just only for single cast, means for foundation, and then once they will finish their foundation, so they have to leave UK and come back to their home country, or they can extend the visa from the UK.
Okay, so if they're finishing a foundation program with us and then they are applying for our undergrad program, our program ending and starting is, I think if I'm not mistaken, you are allowed to stay, like if your course starts 28 days to 1 month from your previous course starting, you can stay in the UK and apply. The way our course ends in terms of foundation and our undergrad start, it falls within that duration. So students can apply within that by staying from within the UK.
Yeah, basically that is a kind of a concern from the student side, like we have to come back again, and this is kind of hassle, this and that. So now we got a clear indication that yes, student, if they will complete the course successfully with the required marks, then they can extend their visa from the UK.
Just to add, a lot of times we might have students who's finished an undergrad in a different university, a foundation program at a different university, now wants to come on to undergrad program with us. So like I said, there is like a certain stipulation while they can stay. If it's exceed that, then I'm afraid they might have to go back. But if it's a foundation program from our university and then they're going on to an undergrad program, our program ending and starting is sort of designed in such a way that students can stay within that stipulated time and apply.
Okay, fantastic. If any student have their foundation degree from any UK universities and their visa will valid till start days of the Chester University, so they also can apply for a bachelor course.
Definitely, they can apply for a bachelor course, given that, of course, they meet the entry criteria that we've set in terms of that. They can definitely apply.
Very good. I think. We keep getting some comments by this time.
Yes.
And also, how about the scholarships for PhD? We are getting some queries for PhD. So, are they getting any PhD scholarships?
The thing with PhDs in general, Walid, like that I tell all students who approach me for this particular question, firstly is that so International Center, the department that I work in, or the one that deals with international students, we don't work with either masters by research or PhD. So we would usually pass it on to the respective department. Of course, you can get in touch with me initially, and then I will put you in touch with them. You will have to send a proposal, sort of 2-page proposal, just to say what you're writing, and then we head it to the respective department. Depending on how much funding they have, Whether they're able to take up your topic, if they have a free supervisor, things then proceed on to the students and the department, depending on how much scholarship is available. At the moment, I think we do give like £1,000 to £2,000, like a flat sort of discount or scholarship, depending on how much funding is available. Then further, you might get more than that. But that's a discussion between sort of the department and the student once they put in their proposal.
Is there any specific date of application for PhD, or is students can apply anytime?
For PhDs, we don't have like a specific date at the moment, and that is because PhDs are more around the sort of year study. So, but there are specific sessions when we start. So there's a May session, early June session. So definitely has to be well ahead of time, because in terms of PhD, you will understand that students need to go through face-to-face interviews as well, of course, doing online, unlike other taught programs. So there are certain steps that you have to go through. So my suggestion, for example, if somebody wants to start in early Jan, Feb or May, now is sort of the time to start putting in your proposals. Because the thing with PhD level, Walid, for any university or any student, is that you send out proposals. Supervisors are, of course, department heads are relatively busy. So some might get back to you in 2 days, some might get back to you in 1 week. So the earlier you start the process, that's better for you.
And also it depends on the faculty. If the university, they don't have the faculty, definitely the student will not get any place. So it depends on
they will not get a place. Also, a lot of time they might have the faculty, but like a supervisor is already working on one PhD program with 1 or 2 students. There is no more at the moment. So yes, so that's why it's always wise to start things like masters by research and PhDs well ahead of time.
Okay, and regarding the master's course or postgraduate course in Chester, if any student has a master's qualification from their own country, say from Bangladesh, one student studied MSc in management. So if they want to study the same course or something related to business course in Chester, so it's kind of second masters in the UK, so they can study.
Okay, so I'll start off by explaining this in a more broader sense. So in general, if a student has already had a level 7, which is the master's level study, now they want to come on to another master's level study, the question arises why student wants to do the similar level of study. In that case, their SOP has to be very, very strong. So how I said about entry criteria in terms of the fact that students need to have a 4 years bachelor's, and then they can come on to our master's program. Similar to that, we also accept the occasional master's to master's degree as well. In that case, the entry criteria will have to be either B3 or 62%. So if they have either of those grades, academically, they can apply for our master's program. English language remains the same. Now, coming back to whether they can apply if their SOP is strong enough to sort of explain why they feel a second master's is going to help them. So my suggestion to students in that case is not to apply for the similar program, for the same program, apply for something similar. For example, if somebody's already done like a MSc in management, I suggest then you go for an MBA if you have relevant work experience. For MBA, we would like to have 2 years work experience, at least 1 year. If somebody's already done an MBA, I suggest you go for a management course, you go for another international business course. So don't apply for the exact same course. So because while it's not just for the university, even at the UKVI, there will be a question as to why you want to do the same thing again. So choose similar, not same courses, and make sure your SOP is very strong in making a relation between why a second master's will help you. If that's logical, then that's fine, no problem there.
Thank you. Basically, these questions I wanted to ask you, because we get so many queries from Bangladesh, and sometimes they have students have MBA qualification and they want to study again MBA. So no matter how much we tell them, they always tell us, look, Bangladesh MBA is not equivalent to UK MBA. So why we cannot study? But they should understand. That is the reason I raised this question to you.
Because it's a two-part. When a student applies to the UK wallet, it's a two-part process they have to understand. First is acceptance from the university. The second is acceptance by UKVI, meaning their visa success. So as a university, when we are also working on application, we also think further down the line whether this is a viable application that might or get rejected because of something they've put on the application. So we always try to, like yourself, suggest students the best way forward, but then ultimately it's up to them what they want to choose. And a lot of cases in such scenarios, we do reject files where we have this, where they've applied for a similar level of study and the reasoning is not strong enough.
I think you are familiar with these qualifications, very common in Bangladesh. The MBA with marketing, MBA in finance. In that case, how you can justify the student?
To be honest, first of all, I've seen this in Bangladesh where they specialized in a subject in terms of MBA, but at least in the UK, MBA is much more general, so it covers sort of everything. The justification when you're coming from, if I were a student who's done an MBA, I will apply for an MSc management. So I would say, look, in my SOP that I've studied a similar level of study, which covers everything. Having studied that, working in the job market, I now feel like I should specialize in either say business, HRM, or finance, or management. So I want to go more into a specialized. Somebody who's done his management now wants to apply for an MBA. If I was writing the SOP, I would say that I've done something specialized. Having worked in the Bangladesh market in terms of securing job, I feel like if I have knowledge of almost all the areas, that's going to help me better. So I would probably write the SOP like that in both the scenarios.
Yeah, basically is detailed explanation the student wants to explain that why they want to study this specific course.
And they have to make a relation specifically in terms of MBA or business where we require work reference. They have to sort of draw relevance to what they're currently doing. So probably I'm working in a bank, so I feel like specializing in finance is going to help me. But I've done MBA before, which was more general, so something like that.
Okay, thank you. There are some students, they come up with the 3 years bachelor course, 3 years bachelor course from National University from Bangladesh. So what sort of course you can suggest them?
If they have a 3 years, so I know this is probably a past degree, it's called, if it's from the National University, which is 3 years. Unfortunately, they can't come on to masters. They can't also come on to our level 4 of bachelors, because for that we also require a 4 years bachelors. They can then come on to year 2 of bachelors. So you know how bachelor's program is of 3 years. So they can in that case come on to year 2, depending on if they have the required grade or not.
So in terms of the like their qualification, if they will come back again in level 3, so there will not be any rejection from the university side.
No, they will, when you put in the application, so you will have to select year 2 or year 3, and if they meet the entry criteria, meaning academic entry criteria in terms of what we're accepting at level 2, they will get an offer letter for that.
In most cases, we can say the student will get credit transfer, kind of, if they will get 1 year.
Yeah, but we don't see it as a credit transfer, because it's more of like a course mapping situation.
Yes,
so if they finish like year 2, if even they finish the full program, because it's 3 years, they will be able to come on to bachelor's 2nd year.
Okay, thank you. And so bachelor we done, masters also we done, foundation and PhD also done. What is the facilities regarding the COVID-19, like about the quarantine? So every student's first question is, do we have to pay the quarantine, the cost? So do you have any suggestions for the students?
So I will probably go back a bit and start from what we did last academic session. So of course we know that a lot of UK universities did have their usual sessions in September, October. Some of them did not start it from Jan, Feb, but thankfully, fortunately, we did not skip any of our sessions for the last academic year as well. We ran it as usual. We did what was called the blended approach, so it was both online and face-to-face, depending on how the lockdown was in the UK. Initially, as you are aware, that Bangladesh was not on the red list, so students did not have to sort of quarantine in a government facility, but they were quarantining at the university. And we did have like a subsidized package for students where they could choose either to stay for 7 days and 14 days. So we delivered food, we picked them up. So we did everything for them while they were quarantining at the university facilities. I think sometime in early March, if I'm not mistaken, Bangladesh was put on the red list. essentially meaning one of the countries in the world, whether if you're going into the UK, you will have to quarantine in a government facility. So in that scenario, of course, unfortunately, nothing can be done there because it's a government mandate. So you will get a lot of questions, what if I'm vaccinated? So either you're vaccinated or not has no bearing on that. The good news, I would say, is that there was a lot of confusion around whether international students will receive vaccination in the UK. You will receive when you are signing up with your GP, your general practitioner, while you are there in the UK. You will be able to, the vaccination if you are of age, if the time comes up, and you don't have to pay additionally for that because your health surcharge will cover that. A second question is, what if I'm vaccinated? I have given one, I have to take the second one. Even then, you will be able to get that, but make sure you tell your GP what you have taken previously. So all those facilities are there, but like you said, Walid, unless Bangladesh comes off the red list, if they go into amber or they go into green, till then, I'm afraid you will have to quarantine in the UK if you are coming to study. Yes.
Would you explain a little bit about the accommodation facilities providing by the Chester University?
At the moment, for international students, and since it has been for last many years that we provide accommodation for international students, and it's of course guaranteed given that you apply within the deadline that we set for each coming sessions. So it sort of ranges from, say, probably around 85 to 90 per week, going upwards, depending on what sort of accommodation you are looking at. So it could be self-catered, and it's shared, so you have your own rooms, but you share the more common spaces like the washrooms, kitchen, and lobby as such. It can go up to have studio apartments and en-suites. So those are 140, 150 pounds per week, like that, depending on what your choice is. The university accommodations are spread throughout the city, so very accessible in walking distance from any campus you might be in Chester. We also have affiliation with private accommodators in Chester as well. So those also house only Chester students. So in terms of accommodation, Bangladeshi students, really international students for that matter, should not have any problem. You should be able to secure either one of ours or the private ones that we're affiliated with. Because to just give a brief idea, Chester as a city is what we call like a university city. So all our campuses are spread around the city. So even the locals, everyone's sort of aware of the Chester students. So very accommodating in terms of facilitating to find accommodation or general everyday, sort of runabout.
And also, student can take a private accommodation, which also depends on the facilities, but it's definitely cheaper than London.
Yes, it is much more cheaper than London as a city. It's in fact much more cheaper than Manchester and Liverpool. I mean, the living expense is quite less comparison to the bigger metropolitans. Just to add one thing here, at this level, as you would know, that's at level 7, pardon, if a student is coming at level 7, which is the master's level, they are allowed to bring their dependents. In that scenario, we will not be able to provide university accommodation because those are only for single students. If you are coming with dependents and partners, in that scenario, you will have to look for private accommodation. But like I said, private accommodations are also available around your campuses.
Thank you. Also, the application turnaround time. If any student will make an application within this week, or do you have any specific date for these sessions? Any deadline?
Yes. First, the application turnaround time, Walid, we try to keep it within 10 to 15 working days. A lot of time, depending on what time you're applying. For some reason, Bangladeshi students, for that matter, always apply at the last moment. So we are closing application on the 23rd of July for this month. We have closed application for Masters in Public Health. We have already closed application for almost 10 other subjects that have an early September start. We will be closing deadline on the 23rd of July for rest of our subjects. That does not mean that you should be putting in your application at 12/1 on the 23rd. The earlier you put in the application, the quicker you have a chance of getting a quicker sort of outcome. That's because the faster you are in the queue, we will look at that early. So my suggestion to students is that a lot of times I get queried that, I've not met English language, I don't have my references, can I wait to get everything and put in the application?
Yeah.
That is not required. If you just have your academic entry criteria with you, your transcript, your certificate, just go ahead and put in the application, because the portal that you will be using, the CRM software that we have, or the portal that you will be using, allows you to update accordingly as well. So that you put everything within the deadline. So just get your application done, and as and when you get the additional documents at hand, you can then upload them within the deadline. So don't wait for everything to get at hand, and don't wait for the 23rd to put in your application. Earlier you put it in, you'll get a quicker turnaround time.
Also, do you have any projected CAS deadline?
Yes, at the moment, we have set deadlines for in terms of fund tuition fees and CAS as well. Let me just quickly pull up the deadline so that I can just say just a general brief idea. So for the undergrad program, which is sort of a program that starts I think midweek of September, the course is going to start 20th September. The application deadline for September undergrad is the 23rd of July. Deposit is the 6th of September, and CAS deadline is the 13th of September. I would just like to add here, Walid, that deposit deadline, you will see that the deposit deadline is the 6th of September, CAS deadline is 13th of September. So 1 week's difference, yeah. But in terms of students from Bangladesh, which is a high-risk country, we do what is a pre-CAS interview. So which is a GI interview, genuine intentions interview, and that can only be done when you've put the deposit. And once you've put the deposit, we will then book you in for a GI interview, which is a process that sort of takes about 1 or 2 weeks, or at best 3 weeks sometimes, to go through. So don't wait also for the deposit deadline to pay your tuition fees, because just a week after that is the CAS deadline. Now you may ask, then why do you set the deadline so late? Maybe you could set it earlier, because there are those countries that do not need the GI interview. So when we are setting deadline keeping sort of worldwide in mind. Unfortunately, Bangladesh is a high-risk country. Students from Bangladesh has to go through the GI interview. So if you have completed English language, please go ahead and put in your deposit so we can schedule you for a pre-CAS interview.
Thank you. My last question is the maximum study gap for bachelor and master.
Okay. In general, for any level that you're coming on to, the maximum study gap that we accept is 1 year, which is unexplained. So there's a lot of confusion between somebody says, but I've completed studies in 2010 or 12. I've been working since. Can I now come onto the program? Of course you can, if you can give the valid work reference. So that is not seen as a gap per se, because that is something that is explainable. We accept only 1 year of unexplainable gaps. So 1 year where you have been doing nothing, or you cannot provide evidence for. Apart from that, if you had a gap in studies and you can provide sort of explanation in terms of work, in terms of medical reasoning, something that is logical, we will accept that.
Yeah, sometimes some students, they take a 6 months break for the IELTS preparation, application preparation. Fine,
Yes.
we are pretty much done. Just we now can start doing question and answer session, shall we?
Yes, sure.
First question is Ruhul Amin. Is there any bachelor course starting in January?
Ruhul, no, I'm afraid, like I said, our bachelor or undergrad, the whole undergrad suite is only in September. We have a master's program in January.
Is there any foundation from January?
No, that's the whole sort of undergrad level. Foundation undergrad is only in September.
So basically, only
one intake.
Only master's courses.
Yes, we have masters. So like I said, in January, we will have business, and we will have medicine, and a handful of, I think, computers. So even in January and February, we don't offer all the masters. It's a selected portfolio. Similarly for May is only just business courses at the moment.
Okay, because as I can remember, this year, May intake, we recruited some students for public health and also the health related courses.
No, I would assume that was for January and February, because for May we only have business.
Okay, fantastic. Ruhul Amin again, question. Past degree plus courses BSc 2020, whereas my subject was physics, botany, geology, also SSC 2013, HSC 2015, science, and got 4.5. And 3.75. Okay, so HSC he got 3.75. Is it possible without IELTS or with Duolingo or ITC? Oh, you accept
There's a
YETC?
Yeah, so there are a lot of question in Ruhul's questions. The first thing is like we mentioned, Ruhul, because you've done, like you said, a PAX course, which I think is 3 years that we were discussing valid, that will not allow you entry into a master's program directly. So that's the first thing. Second thing is we do not accept Duolingo or MOI. So let me just make this clear. You will have to have some sort of English language test, or you will have to take our internal if you don't have any of those. We are currently accepting OIETC, and the entry requirement for that is if you're coming on to undergrad, it has to be a B2 plus. If you're coming on to PG, it has to be C1 overall, and at least B2 in all the other levels. So that's sort of equivalent to IELTS 6 in terms of English undergrad and 6.5 in terms of masters.
Okay, thank you. I think it's another question on behalf of his friend. Asking on behalf of my friend, do you accept more than 10 years study gap with relevant managerial work experience for MBA course?
Rohul, I would say usually we sort of don't go over, if it's an application where there's 8 years plus gap, it's scrutinized much more because that's a very sort of big gap, and now the relevance why you're coming back. But if it's a convincing work experience and the SOP mentions well why after such a gap he wants to come back to study, I see no reason why he cannot apply if he meets the academic entry criteria.
Yeah, it depends if the student has a bachelor and master's together, and they are
Correct.
working in a managerial level after, because 10 years is quite long gap to promote, to get a promotion. So if it depends on the case, it depends on his work experience. So then definitely he can get a
So I guess this is a good example of Walid where the student should reach out to yourself and your team where you can assess the file and then give them a better assessment.
Okay, thank you. Sajid Tahsin Khan, what is the BBA course tuition fees and how much deposit is required for CAS for Bangladeshi students? Okay.
So basically, the general tuition fee. So BBA is, of course, the bachelor's level of study. So generally, the undergrad or bachelor's program, like I said, the tuition fee is 12,750 for the coming academic year. And in terms of how much deposit you have to pay to secure your place, it's £3,000 for all level of study. Either you're coming on foundation or undergrad or postgrad, you have to pay minimum £3,000 to secure your place.
So £3,000 is a cash deposit, and then
Correct.
they have to pay any other tuition fees before enrollment.
Yes. So the system is that. So, for example, after deducting the scholarships and everything, student has £10,000 to pay. They will pay £3,000 deposit to get the process rolling in terms of getting a GI and applying for the CAS. Once they've done that, they need to pay another 50% of the rest of the tuition fee before course start date. So, if your course is either starting in September or October, you should have paid 50% of your of your tuition fees before the course start date. Rest of the amount that you have, that you will pay that in January 2022, depending on, of course, which session you are starting. So it's going to be 3 months after your course start date, the final installment. Just to add, if you pay the full tuition fee before course start date, you will have another additional £250 off. So that doesn't have to be at one go. So even if you pay on 2 or 3 installments before the course start date, you get another additional £250 off.
Yeah, basically we recommend the students to pay as much as they can, because this is also kind of a guarantee to get a visa, because Home Office they check the credibility of the student. So it's a little more commitment if the student pay in advance 60%.
Yes, correct. I would put it that way, because you and I can, of course, not guarantee how the UKVI are thinking, but it adds merit that the student has cleared their tuition fee, definitely.
And I wanted to say, like, it's kind of one symbol of the credibility. The student already committed and paid a significant amount of the tuition fees.
Yeah, yes. That they've committed and they're genuine. That sort of puts that sort of impression. Correct. You're right.
Thank you. Sajid also wanted to ask another. Do you have any master's course with placement? Okay. No.
Sajid, no, not at the moment. We don't have any attached courses, but like I explained previously as well, if you are aware, the post-study work visa, which allows students to stay and work full-time in the UK, has been reopened, and I think it's starting from July, so that would be the first batch of students who would be allowed to apply for the post-study work visa. So if you're coming on to a master's program, if you finish the course well and have abided by all the rules that your visa had asked you to, you can then apply for an extension of 2 years where you can work full time.
Okay. Next question is Jitin Saji. Can someone with a non-design degree qualification apply for the MA design program if there is about 3 years of work experience as a graphic designer? Okay.
Yes, Jitin, this is a very interesting question, and we do have a lot of students applying for master's program, but they don't have previous sort of academic knowledge in that. Particularly for a design program, when you are applying for the master's level, you have to submit a portfolio. Although, like you said, you don't have experience, academic experience, but you have 3 years of work experience. So in that case, I cannot say for sure that it will be accepted, but I would definitely encourage you to put in your application, because depending on your portfolio, you might get an offer if you meet the academic entry criteria in terms of what you have in your bachelor's.
Thank you. So another questions. Rashid Islam Khan, hello. Does University Chester has any program on education administration, looking for scholarships and postgraduate studies in the mentioned program, education administration?
Yes, so we do have quite a few sort of programs around education. Particularly, I would not say administration, but sort of we have creative practices in education. We then have education in society, and then we have the PGCE courses, which are essentially sort of teaching courses with certification that allows you to be like a teacher in the UK in different schools. But particularly around administration, not at the moment. But the ones that I have mentioned, like education in society and creative practices in education, are the two programs at master's level. In terms of tuition fees and scholarship, again, same. Our tuition fees of masters are quite similar for almost all subjects, 12,950, and the scholarship is £2,000 guarantees. So essentially, your tuition fee is actually 10,950. If you make the merit as well, then you will get another additional £1,000. So your tuition your tuition fee can actually be 9,950.
Okay. There's another question from Abdul Kaya, AK Abdul Qayyum. How much scholarship will be get Bangladeshi students? So he's asking for Bangladeshi student scholarships. 1,000.
He's asking for BA. So at BA level, you have like a bachelor's program. The scholarship is, like I said, up to £2,000. So 1,000 guaranteed on application, the other 1,000 based on merit.
Okay, thank you. Funny question. Okay, is there any state restriction from India or Bangladesh?
I'm not sure what that really means.
I think he's asking for some kind of restrictions for cities that
not at
education board.
No, nothing like that. State restriction for India or Bangladesh. All right. So I will just tell you about Bangladesh. No, there is no restrictions. But for India, for certain of our locations, and depending on where you finished your degree, academic entry criteria and English language entry criteria do differ. So for that, you will have to get in touch with our country manager for India, or with Bwbs. So they will put you in touch with them as well.
Thank you. Sharul Shakil, do you have any placement available for PG? Yeah, no.
So I think we've sort of answered that question before. Not embedded in the program, but you do have, like I said, PSW. You could apply for that and look for full-time work. The university also has what we call academic department that helps you. It's called the Employability and Careers. So students can essentially work with the team to sort of amp themselves up in terms of writing CVs or doing mock interviews. We also hold a sort of virtual, which is virtual at the moment, but usually we have job fairs where local and sort of international all employees come in. So you can always go there and sort of help yourself. But embedded in the program, no, but definitely a lot of other opportunities in terms of PSW.
Thank you. There's another question from Ariful Haq. My IELTS academic score 5.5 overall. Can I approach for foundation? I think his one band is less than 5. Oh no, sorry. He has 5.5, not less than 5. Is there another?
Okay. In that case, Ariful, if you are applying for a foundation program, it has to be, like I mentioned, UKVI IELTS. If that's the case, then this should be fine. We require overall 5, no less than 4.5. If you are applying for the foundation year, which leads into bachelor, I'm afraid then this is not applicable, because there you will need 6 years, overall 6 part of the score.
Thank you. Amir Afjal, do the University offer international English test? Yes, we covered it.
Yeah. We do offer internal tests, like I mentioned, and it's free for students. You don't have to pay anything for that, except the foundation program. If you're coming on to either undergrad or postgrad, you are allowed to sit the internal test. It will be done via Skype. So it's almost how IELTS is. You will have all the 4 components, and of course, a shorter duration of time, about 2 hours. So, but for that, you first need to have the offer letter. Once you have the offer letter, only then you can apply for the internal test.
Thank you. Alternative English language except IELTS, ESPT, there are some sort of TOEFL.
Yes, there are others as well. So I think better to have a look at the webpage, because we accept almost 7 or 8. Usually students who come or apply for medicine sit for OET. Apart from that, we accept another 7 or 8. So do please visit the webpage and you'll find the relevant ones there.
Yeah, also you can visit university website, and it's clearly written everything in detail. What English courses they accept, what they don't, and what is the requirement. Right. Thank you. How long does it take for the offer letter? Okay, there is a question. So this.
Yeah. I think we've also discussed this, about 10 to 15 working days for a turnaround time, but then of course it depends on what sort of the time you are applying. If you're applying closer to the deadline, sometimes it might take a bit later than that, because we have like a lot of application on queue. So like I said, if you have everything at hand, please go ahead and put in your application as soon as you can.
Okay, thank you. Khan Shahid, what are the facilities for students, like part-time jobs in university, and do they provide transportation?
Yes, there are part-time jobs at the university. So what we have, what we call a Uni Jobs Bank. So you either need to email to them, or they'll send out information to you as well. So whenever any post opens up, it will be sent to you. You need to interview that for that position, and if you do get it, you can then work at the university. I might just add, so I am an alumni myself. I have studied my master's in Chester, and while I was at the university, all throughout my 1 year of study, I have worked at different departments at the university. I did not have to work outside, because there are a lot of job opportunities opening up in the university. Whenever it comes in, I then go and apply for it, and thankfully I got it. The only thing with Bangladeshi students, while it is they're not as proactive as I would like them to be. So they're very sort of shy in terms of approaching the university for work or applying to jobs like this. So please be proactive. There are a lot of positions in the university, outside as well, because it's a tourist city, Chester. So it's always brimming with people, lots of cafes, restaurants, in terms of hospitality. Of course, you have to bear in mind the current scenario, because of the current pandemic, things are a bit different, understandably. In terms of finding a job might not be like at par at what it was previously, but since things are opening up in the UK, hopefully it should not be a problem for you.
Yeah, Chester University is in between Wales and in England.
Like close to Manchester and Liverpool as well. So a lot of people find work there, bigger metropolitans. And like I said, 40-45 minutes commute there is not a big deal because commuting, transporting is very easy. I think he had another question in terms of provide transportation. I'm not sure if you mean in terms of going to the university, because you don't really need any transportation. It's just 5 to 10 minutes from your campus. You could just easily walk. If you are going to one of our campuses, which is in Warrington and Shrewsbury, which is like 30 minutes from the city of Chester, then we provide bus for the students for that.
In terms of the jobs, part-time jobs, some students,
Yeah.
if they want to improve their English or improve their communication skills, they should communicate with the university international team. Even
Yes.
though if they can apply for a job in library reception, also
Correct.
student counseling. There are a lot of department in the university. A lot. It's a public organization, and there are hundreds of opportunities. So students don't think conventional way that you must have to look for a job outside of the university. You can work in the university, either if you're looking for admin job or even the university have cafe. If you want to work for the cafe, you can. And also outside of the university, if someone wants to explore a little, explore something, or they're looking for something different experience, they also can work part time outside of the university. And as the university, it's just a city, is
Like
also a very old city.
Yes, and like I said, like you rightfully mentioned, we have 6 campuses at the moment. So when you have 6 campuses, definitely the maintenance, the upkeep, you can either work at the library, you could work at any of the departments, you could work. So a lot of times there are researches that are being done which you can participate in. There are a lot of opportunities in terms of whether you're wanting to look for money. We have a students portal where students can sort of, a lot of times departments would give out like they are running a research. If you participate in that, you'll get like an Amazon card, or you get a Tesco card, which you can then use to buy groceries or shop. So you need to be more proactive and always keep an eye out on what opportunities there are that is for students that's free, which unfortunately students don't sort of go out to take. But these are things that you should be definitely taking advantage of.
Yeah, because every students from like especially from Bangladesh or from other South Asian countries, they're very stereotyped in only London. Okay, London is full of jobs. I actually don't think like that.
Correct.
UK is a country, is everything is decentralized, so you can get job anywhere if you want to work. So that's not a problem.
That's
Uh,
right.
the Mahendra Bajarwal, I think he's from India. I applied 1 month before for pre-registration MSc nursing course, but still I am waiting for admission later. Okay.
I think pre-MSCs are sort of closed at the moment. If your application is already in Mahendra, this will be dealt by our team in India, which is Kiran, who's the country manager, and his team. Please do feel free to send him an email with your OAI number, which is the application number, and he will definitely have a look at that for you.
Yeah, Mahendra, I don't know whether you applied through us or not.
Yeah.
Normally, we have 14 days policy, means if we don't get any response within 14 days from the university, we always chase up the regional manager. So if you are from India and applied to some other agency, it's not our, to be honest, it's not our responsibility. But if you apply through us, definitely contact to us, or contact to our office. We have regional office in India. We have office in various countries. So we have 15 plus branch offices around the world. So please contact to us after this session. Okay. We are keep getting comments. This Hi, Gurpreet Chima. Hi, ma'am. Here is General Kaur from India. Okay. I think is there any quarantine cost refundable? We already covered this question.
Yeah.
No, the university will not take any kind of responsibilities.
Can I just add here? So basically, I'm getting a lot of questions around this. So sometime in early February and March, the government did give sort of like a small subsidy to universities to hand out to students. We did give that to a lot of our students while they came before early March. It's very wise to explain that I'm getting a lot of questions that, ma'am, this university is sort of refunding the quarantine fees. Are you doing that? I would request students to please have a look at the tuition fees of those universities and ours, because ours are
Yes.
so reasonably placed that we are not in a situation to refund it. The universities which are refunding your sort of the quarantine fees are universities whose tuition fees are very high. So essentially, you are being refunded with your own money. So our tuition fees are set at a fund that is given out to be distributed. We will then definitely give it to the students.
Thank you. Another student, I'm in the city. Sorry. Um, what undergraduate courses available in January? No undergraduate courses.
Yeah.
Anafat Abdullah, does the university bear hotel quarantine expenses? No, we explained. Rulavin again, question. What is the UK and PG net course fee roughly after someone's get maximum scholarships? Okay.
For undergrad, like I said, tuition fee is 12,750. So depending on whether you get the merit or not, your tuition fee will be 11,750. At master's level, because the tuition fee is up to £3,000. Again, if I exclude merit, then your tuition fee will be 10,950.
Sharmin asked another question. I'm asking on behalf of my friend. He applied to an agent in our university in your university for MSc adult nursing, but they said that this course has been suspended by the university. So the question is, what should he do to get admission in the same subject? Okay.
Sharmeen, if it's suspended, that means the course is not running anymore. Unfortunately, in that scenario, he will not be able to apply for that subject. If you are saying if he wants to apply in something similar, then please, it's the same process for everything. But if a course is suspended or temporarily halted, then we will not be running it for the academic session. So I'm afraid they will have to look for something else.
Yeah, I just wanted to explain a little bit about the university itself. Just the university tuition fees is not that much like other universities. The fees is quite reasonable compared to London. Most of the university tuition fee is over £14,000. And
Correct.
about if you think about the quality life, London is very expensive to live in. With this accommodation cost, you can live in peace, and you can enjoy the quality life in Chester. And also the university campus is very big. Student will get a lot of facilities from the university, and yeah, it's also a multicultural city. Whole United Kingdom actually is a multicultural country. So student can save a lot of money if they study and live in Chester. So this is my questions. Also, for the Bangladeshi students from medical field, Chester University has many medical courses related to healthcare, public health, cardiovascular surgery. So if any students from Bangladesh, they have studied MBBS, and they want to study in the UK, and they want to study the sort of postgraduate qualification in Chester University. Yes, Chester University has vast range of healthcare or health related courses. So yeah, Tasmina, do you want to say something in conclusion?
Yes, well, like you've said very well, I think it will be a good idea to sort of give an idea around what are most popular subjects. So medicine is one of our most popular schools in MSCs. Also business and computing. Of course, we do get applications all throughout our different faculties. I think just to conclude, thank you everyone for joining us today. And of course, we might not be able to attend or answer all questions in one live, and Walid and his team is here to attend to those. So if you are interested to apply, please get in touch with Walid and his team, and they will help you with the application. Please try to put it within, like I said, the given deadline. Because keeping the current pandemic in mind, and also because you come from a high-risk country, there are a lot of processes involved after you put in the applications. You have to keep in mind whether UKVI is open or UTB test you have to undergo, that is open. So please don't wait till the deadline to put in your application. If you are interested, please go ahead and put in your application, get in touch with Walid and his team. If you need any information in terms of how the course is going to look like, my information is on the university website as well. You're always most welcome to drop me an email and I can give you information on relevant courses. So yes, thank you, and hopefully we will be doing lives like this in the near future as well, and we will catch students then again.
Thank you, Tasmina, for giving us this opportunity, and also it was a really pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much. Hope see you again. Thank you. Bye.
All right, thanks. Thank you, Walid. Bye.